Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Shravanam Diaries Podcast.
Reading Bhagavad Gita as it is, the book by His Divine Grace Abhaycharanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. Text 3. Gyeyasa nitya sannyasi yo na dveshti na kankshati nirdvandvo hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramuchyate. One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated. O mighty armed Arjuna. Purport. One who is fully in Krishna consciousness is always a renouncer because he feels neither hatred nor desire for the results of his actions. Such a renouncer, dedicated to the transcendental, loving service of the Lord, is fully qualified in knowledge because he knows his constitutional position in his relationship with Krishna. He knows fully well that Krishna is the whole and that he is part and parcel of Krishna. Such knowledge is perfect because it is qualitatively and quantitatively correct. The concept of oneness with Krishna is incorrect because the part cannot be equal to the whole. Knowledge that one is one in quality, yet different in quantity, is correct. Transcendental knowledge. Correct transcendental knowledge leading one to become full in himself, having nothing to aspire to or lament over. There is no duality in his mind because whatever he does for Krishna. Being thus freed from the platform of dualities, he is liberated even in this material world. Text 4. Sankhya yoga prithag bala pravadanti na pandita ekamapyasthita samyag ubhayor vindate phalam. Only the ignorant speak of devotional service, karma yoga, as being different from the analytical study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of these paths achieves the results of both. Purport. The aim of the analytical study of the material world is to find the soul of existence. The soul of existence. The soul of the material world is Vishnu, or Supersoul. Devotional service to the Lord entails service to the Supersoul. One process is to find the root of the tree, and the other is to water the root. The real student of Sankhya philosophy finds the root of the material world, Vishnu, and then, in perfect knowledge, engages himself in the service of the Lord. Therefore, in essence, there is no difference between the two, because the aim of both is Vishnu. Those who do not know the ultimate end, say that the purposes of Sankhya and Karma Yoga are not the same, but one who is learned knows the unifying aim in these different processes. So if you don't know the ultimate end, you would say that the purpose of Sankhya and Karma Yoga are not the same, meaning you don't know where it leads. Text 5. Yat sankhyaih prapyate sthanam tad yogairapi gamyate ekam sankyam cha yogam cha yah pashyati na pashyati. One who knows that the position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, and who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are. Purport. The real purpose of philosophical research is to find the ultimate goal of life. Since the ultimate goal of life is self-realization, there is no difference between the conclusions reached by the two processes. By Sankhya philosophical research, one comes to the conclusion that a living entity is not a part and parcel of the material world, but of the Supreme Spirit whole. Consequently, the spirit soul has nothing to do with the material world. His actions must be in some relation with the Supreme. I always wonder, we speak about the living entity having that minute independence and acting in harmony or dovetailing himself in desires of the Supreme Lord. So here, Srila Prabhupada doesn't say that the spirit soul must be fully obedient and, must be entirely subjugated or submitted or just basic point is that you must be in some relation with the Supreme, some relation. There has to be some relationship, because there's plenty of different ways you can have that relationship with the Supreme. Some choose to have it in Chantarasa. They just want to admire and appreciate the Lord. Some relation. Some want to be his best friend. That's one of the relationships. But there has to be some. You can't think that you're part and parcel of the material world, of this junk, basically. When you're part and parcel of the Supreme, you have some relationship with the Supreme. Yeah, so this is the conclusion. Because, of course, Sankhya and Karma Yoga, they seem to be very, very different. Very different. But they go and reach the ultimate end, which is the same. The conclusion is the same. Okay. Some relation with the Supreme. His actions must be in some relation with the Supreme. Yeah. When he acts in Krishna consciousness, he is actually in his constitutional position. In the first process, Sankhya, one has to become detached from matter. And in the devotional yoga process, one has to attach himself to the work of Krishna consciousness. Factually, both processes are the same, although superficially, one process appears to involve detachment and the other process appears to involve attachment. Detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna are one and the same. One who can see this, sees things as they are. This is so important to understand, because it's a common misunderstanding that accepting yourself as the spirit soul and being detached from matter, from the material world, material activities, bringing yourself to spirituality, that's different from chanting the holy names of the Lord, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, worshipping the deity, chanting prayers, reciting prayers and to the Lord, and performing different kinds of services to the Lord, and hearing about the Lord and singing about the Lord, making dramas about the Lord, donating money to the temple or feeding the devotees of the Lord. All of these things, imagine all these things, and then we're talking about philosophical research, and then like philosophical speculation, and then contemplation, and then like philosophy in its true sense, when you're putting everything into boxes and counting, and it seems like how are these two processes the same? But if you're actually doing devotional service, if you're actually sincerely worshipping the Lord, there is detachment from matter. There is. It's just there. Because you're getting something so much better. First of all, you're having some relationship with the Supreme. You're in your constitutional position. So when you're in your constitutional position, you just turn around, you're like, oh, I'm not all of that junk that's imposed on me with the material miseries and sufferings. In fact, I'm not really much affected by it, even though I have to be intelligent and work within the keep my body and soul together and stuff, at our level. But basically I'm not that. But if you are really talking about yourself as the supreme oh my god, that's such a if you're talking about yourself as a supreme, it's something is wrong there. As a part of the Supreme Spirit, if you really want to study the Vedic scriptures and understand how this material world is, what is the structure of this material world, all of these different elements, how they come together, how they combine, how they are apart, and how the spirit soul is different from matter. You can't really get into that. You can't really follow that, go down that road without having attachment to the Lord. Because if you think about it, if you just look at it from absolutely dry and philosophical sense, you just suck out all of the juice of life, and it just becomes all okay, and where is happiness? Okay, I understand everything is in the boxes, everything is sliced, cut, and put in certain order, everything is conceptualized and then prioritized and then categorized, and then it has been put into different boxes, and then we've made a big board with different we got everything. Everything is there. What do we do now? You can't go down that path unless you're okay, so now we are attaching ourselves to the Lord with all of this, knowing all of this. We know that we're not this, but we for sure know who we actually are. The worst part is when you are trying to detach from matter and you're focusing on that, and we go back to the first verse we read today, is that you're I'm not attached to the fruits of my activities, and then you just develop some sort of hatred towards it, and it just and it has nothing to do with real spirituality, with real detachment, with real liberation, with overcoming material bondage. If you're just hating everything, you know? Like, this is material body. Welcome. This is material world. Congratulations. There are 3 kleshas, 3 miseries of the material existence. We're constantly harassed by the mind, which you can't control. The senses are going out of hand because, they're like serpents, which are, they bite, they try to bite us. And like material existence is also compared to a serpent, which is like biting you, and you're and when we go to the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when we go to 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, so many different explanations of the material situation are there, and of how we are not this material situation, of that we are real spirit soul. But like, what do you do with all of this if you just realize that, well, I can't like get out of it right now? I am here, and I understand that the situation is not very good and it's not permanent, but what do I do now? Only Krishna consciousness can take you out of that desire and hate. Only Krishna consciousness. If you're doing Krishna consciousness properly, there is attachment to the Lord and there is detachment from matter. If there's only constant detachment from matter, which just develops too much hate, basically, it's just you're going in the wrong direction. And if you're constantly like, you're engaging in devotional service, but basically you're too attached to the fruits, you're constantly wanting the fruits of your activities, you're not exactly going in the right direction either. So everything comes together when this process of Sankhya and Karma Yoga are understood, when we understand that it's all the same thing. There is detachment, but there is attachment to Krishna. And this is the conclusion of today's episode. Let's read this sentence again. Detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna are one and the same. And one who sees this, sees things as they are. It's a long road, long way to go, but it's totally worth it. Yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in today. The book links, previous episodes timeline, and biography of the author can be found on shravanamdiaries.com. The link is in the description, and we shall see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.